lead engineer. We've got Andy Goldsing as our lead designer, and Colin Horgan as our producer. So right off the bat, this game is for 2 users. So we are actually building a game. Right here. There we go. But it wasn't working. I don't know how to speak, guys. Okay. So this game is really designed for 2 key users, and we hope that the video showed that. It's both, of course, for the children with autism, but it's also for parents and therapists. So from the moment you start to boot up the game, the kids would see a really fun, playful screen and encourages them to get involved with these characters. But from then on, the parents would actually set up the accounts and do a lot of sort of tailoring. And I'm going to hand it off to Colin, who's going to talk to as we work through the parents' experience.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Again, I'm Colin.
Try this one.
Can you guys hear me? All right. So, again, as we talked about, this game is actually for 2 users. We have the kids who are the subjects of the therapy, but then we also have the adults, the parents, and the therapists. But we want to make sure that when we're presenting all this hard science and stuff, that we're not confusing the kids or anything. So we got to segment that away from the kids part of the game. So that's why we have our parent accounts. So you'll see you have your kids account up top, but then we have the parent or therapist account down bottom. So let's go ahead and click on that. It'll bring you, the first time you go to it, to the screen that lets you set up your parent account. Name, password, so that the kid doesn't accidentally go onto it. And then an email address, which will allow the parent to get regular updates on how their kid is doing in the game. So let's continue. Then we can see the data for all of our users that are on there, if a therapist has multiple patients, for example. And you can also delete users if needed, so that, if you want to reset a user account or you just have a different user. So let's check out Mike's user account. See how that's looking. So on each of these accounts, we can have user options, which allow the parent or therapist to change the player's experience based on their needs or such. For example, if the child gets overwhelmed by sound really easily, we can turn down the music or turn off the voice effects. We have our analytics tab, which is keeps track of historical user data, so we can check how the player's been doing throughout the game. And then we have our special create a level, which is probably the most important part of this side of the game. This allows a parent or therapist to create a custom level, which allows for a custom lesson plan tailored to the user's needs, because autism is a spectrum. Not all autistic kids have the same needs. So let's go ahead and look at our environment selection. Selecting the environment is an important part of this process because we want to reflect reality and the situations that the children will be appearing in. So we started with a school cafeteria because a lot of kids interact at school and may have trouble. So let's go ahead and select the cafeteria. This will bring us to our character select screen. As you can see on the right, we have all the characters that we have available to us. And if you select one, a card will pop up with the lesson that the character's interaction teaches, as well as the relative length based on stars in the conversation, the type of minigame that's associated with it. If a child has a particular like or dislike in minigames, we can know about that. And the player's average score in that interaction before, so we can know if they've been struggling or not. So let's go ahead and pick Nancy, because our child has been having trouble making friends at school, and that's what Nancy's all about. And with that, the parent or therapist would be handing the iPad off to the child. So I'll be handing the microphone off to Jeremy to talk about the conversation.
Thanks, Colin. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and boot up the level and start playing. These are our 2 main characters. And so immediately we meet Pete, participate in our game environment. And right off the bat, what we want our players to see is this sort of rich storybook 3D world that's more true to the video games they're already playing, because this is really a blend of a therapy tool as well as a video game. So you can walk around by tapping the environment and lead Pete wherever you want to. You can also tap on things in the background. There's some various elements that are all interactive. We call them clickables, but that's because it also adds to the fun element and just exploration. It's very encouraging. And down here at the bottom, you see our lost toys. You can see basically how many toys there are to collect in the environment. And the bottom right is Sherlock, who is our social coach, but also our in-game therapist, who's a very attractive, fun character so that kids want to keep learning. So let's go ahead and jump in. Traditionally, you'd have 3 or 4 characters in this environment, so it'd be a lot fuller and a lot more commotion.
She's new at school. It's my first day and I don't know anybody. I wish I could make new friends. I don't know what to say to make new friends. I'll just stand by myself.
So we're going to pause it there. A lot of you guys already know this. You've heard our spiel, but basically this is a sequence which is about introducing cause and effect, but it's really about introducing a character state. So every character we meet in the environment, you'll always understand why they are in the mood that they are, what's going on, what happened. And it's also a great opportunity to teach cause and effect because children with autism don't understand that maybe sometimes one action will lead to another. I also want to draw your attention to the pause screen at the top. You'll see this is a really minimal UI element, and that actually came directly from user testing, both with clinicians as well as our users. The therapists wanted to sometimes pause the game and actually ask the kids questions and build on the curriculum that we're trying to build. And so they said, hey, can we make sure that whenever we pause, we can still see the entire screen and all the information, because then we can really expand on the stuff you guys are already doing. So we've got that great minimal pause screen. What we're going to jump into, and again, many of you know this, but is basically our roadmap for conversation. So now that we understand this sequence and all of this information, we're kind of going to test it. And what we've also done is create a template for conversations that works through that 5-step system. So the first thing we need to do at this point is test emotional awareness and see whether or not our player, children with autism, have a very tough time taking perspective, but also seeing other people's emotions, whether or not they can identify the emotion here. So, Fotis, if you want to go ahead and play it.
Something seems to be wrong. Before we talk to Nancy, we should think about how she feels. Nervous? Sick? Frustrated? Excited?
And so all of the art here has been completely overhauled actually, because we want to make sure that these expressions really were true to life and that were a little bit exaggerated. So we've got new pieces there. If you choose the wrong answer, who wants to volunteer a wrong answer? Brian Choi, go ahead.
Sick.
Sick, all right, let's try sick.
Nancy doesn't look ill. Try a different
So
one.
basically Sherlock will immediately give you a reason as to why that may not be the right choice, but then rather than give you any negative feedback, we're utilizing a therapy called errorless learning. That's where there's no fail state, there's no negative response, but rather leading you to the right choice, so we're only reinforcing the right behaviors. Let's go ahead and make the right choice.
Nice work.
We're going to go ahead
Nancy is
and mute it
nervous.
just because we've got full voiceover, but we want to talk to, of course, the science behind all this. So next up, we're going to test comprehension and see whether or not you understood that sequence that we looked at earlier. So a few options will pop up as to why do you think Nancy is feeling the way she is, that she's nervous. So in this case, Nancy standing alone might be a choice you would think, but it's actually this one here where she doesn't have friends to talk to. So we're going to click on that one. If you were to get that wrong, Sherlock would prompt and say, hey, do you maybe want to watch the sequence again? Give you the choice. Because if you think you remember, you might want to try again without watching it. But if you weren't paying attention, we're going to watch it again. So now we're at step 3 of our conversation, and this is initiation. Initiation is so important because it's hard to basically know what to start with as opposed to just talking about maybe what you're interested in. So here are our choices, and they range from least appropriate to most appropriate. Of course, all of these have a weighted scale behind them. We're tracking all of this. These are our key components for the grading that we will show later, or the analytics. So this is initiation. Something like, let's say, what are you doing? Or rather, have you seen my toys? That may be way off. But then something like, hi, my name is Pete, and a formal introduction is probably the most appropriate choice. So let's choose the right answer. And Sherlock would give a strong reinforcement, big star. The kids love collecting these stars. We don't get it, but they are all over it. Every time they see a gold star, I think Laird made a good point that Miyamoto has like brainwashed all of us, and we just collect stars now. Yeah, we're always after the stars. So now we're at step 4 of the conversation. This is maintaining a conversation. Very important because as we talked about a moment ago, children with autism tend to perseverate. That means they fixate on the things that they like. They only talk about the stuff they want to talk about, and maybe that's a toy or something. But in this case, you have to maintain what Nancy wants to talk about. So now we know that she's new. Let's ask a question to maintain. Does somebody smell? Well, probably not the best choice, but is everything okay? Let's go there. All right, so we've got 4 stars, and at this point we're about to enter step 5, which is problem solving. And that's because the nature of reciprocal conversation, the tit for tat that is our everyday, is kind of helping people through things because we want to talk to them and understand maybe their situation, talk about ours, etc. So, what can we do to help Nancy? You should make fun of them, talk to them about only what you like. I don't want to help Nancy, or talk to them about what they like. So, again here, what are we choosing? People? Thoughts? Make fun of them. Let's make fun of them. And Sherlock would say that will actually make Nancy's new classmates feel bad. That will distance them more. So not a good choice. But at least you helped us with our analytics later, make sure they're working. So let's go ahead and talk to them about what they like. And this is where we can go ahead and unmute. We're going to enter a mini game, and I'm going to let Sherlock do the talking.
That's a good plan. Can you help me figure out what my new classmate's like?
To learn other people's interests, use your eyes to find clues about them. Look at the list of objects on the notepad to the side. Then find the hidden objects on each student and tap them. After you find all the hidden images, choose the topic Nancy should talk about with her classmates based on what they like.
Juice. All right, we're gonna really zoom through this for the sake of time.
Now let's begin the game.
So Photos is a pro at this.
Good job. You've great job.
Okay.
You found
But this is important because we're teaching our player to think with their eyes and to look for things that to us might seem obvious, but to them it's a good way to learn how to have conversations.
Good job.
So,
Good job.
yes.
You found it great.
yes!
You found it.
Faster, Photos, faster. That's right. I don't want to hear the word job, just good, good, good. All right. That also works, we'll skip it.
I need to learn more about my new classmates.
So now we get closure for our conversation. She's learned a great character arc story here where if she just lifted that tuft of hair and used her eyes, she might be able to see what's going on. But now she also knows to think there. And she's helped us, and there in the corner, look at that, we found a toy. So let's go ahead and tap on that. And that is the only toy we're looking for in this environment. So,
That's it. You found all the toys in this level.
all right. Hooray! So at this point, we're going to cut to what the player would see, which is the analytics screen to follow. They're going to learn what friends they met, how many stars they found. They love stars. They're going to see the toy that they won, which is a great reinforcer, and then they're going to have a lesson down here, true to a therapy called social narrative. We use I can statements so that the player reads along with this, says along with Sherlock what they can do. So let's play that.
I can think about others' interests to make new friends.
That's right. We learned a great lesson. So at this point, we're going to hand it off to our parent, who's going to walk us through the analytics on that side. And I believe Photos is going to take care of that. Password protected.
Okay, so as Jeremy said a while ago, all the information that we have during the dialogue, we keep track of it. And here basically is what the parent can see, which is the feedback from the child's interaction. As you can see, we have the 5 categories on top with bars. For each one of the categories, we have three different stats. One is the play that the child just finished. Then we have the previous play, and we also have an aggregated data, which is basically all the data from previous plays that we keep and we average them. Then the other cool thing is the summary that we have. Basically, the summary is an also generated text based on the history of all the previous interactions, as well as information from the current interaction. And from that, we generate a text that basically will describe the current interaction, but the overall progress of the child as well. Then, this is the last part of the parents' analytics screen, which is if the parents are more concerned and they want to look into more information, then they can see all the answers that the child gave and also the time that they spend on each one. With that, I'm going to go back to the main menu.
Cool. So one of the things you've seen is this being used as a therapeutic tool. And so what we want to show now is that it actually can be fun too. And so we have 2 main kind of like fun areas that kids can go play. And so first we're going to show you the mini games. Now you saw the mini game with Nancy that's up there. And now we're actually going to show you a different one. We're going to show you a puzzle one that's associated with another character. And once you actually unlock one of these puzzles, there are 3 different modes. There's an easy, a medium, and a hard. So Photos, let's go through easy.
Knowing when to laugh is puzzling. Use the puzzle pieces in the puzzle box to put together each puzzle.
Sherlock
Now
likes
let's
puzzles.
begin.
So you'll see we have a very easy puzzle with 6 pieces that the player can complete. And so Photos will put this together.
A clown is making balloon animals at a party. Should we laugh or help the people in this picture?
So this is attached to a different character, but we're actually going to X it out so you can see the scalability. So Photos, let's try this again, and actually go to hard.
Knowing when to laugh is puzzling.
You have to watch this again.
Use the puzzle pieces in the puzzle box to put together each puzzle. Now let's begin.
And you can see the puzzle's a lot more difficult. So, and it's actually using the exact same images that we have before. So we can slot in whatever images we want to put here. But really the purpose of this area is to allow kids to kind of choose, Photos, you might need to play a little more, to allow kids to choose kind of the difficulty they want to pursue. So if they really like a game or a puzzle, that they can play it hard, easy, medium, and they can challenge themselves. So let's go and show the last feature of our game, which is called the Toy Box. And so, one of the things you guys have seen us talk about the whole time is about collecting toys. And one of the things we've discussed is that collecting toys is awesome, but if you can't really play with them, it can be really difficult. So what we want to show is actually how you're going to play with all the toys you collect. So Photos, why don't you pick on the coloring book? So every toy that you collect or you get from therapy will be in one of these games. So this is just showing the coloring book in that as you go through and you play a character, you might receive a marker, a crayon, or a pencil. We also have other kind of toy box games that are in the works that you might be able to play in those. You might get a train set or you might get something else. So this is really important because it allows kids to kind of just play and have that option that is not the hard therapy that we're kind of throwing at them with all these interactions. So I think Photos has something he wants to say.
What is it, Photos?
So thank you very much, guys. We appreciate it.